Now on News 6 Mornings, breaking overnight, President Trump posting a ceasefire is in effect. But is it? This morning, the remaining tension after Iran strikes an Israeli neighborhood.
Plus, the wife of a suspended local sheriff now joining her husband in jail. The charges she now faces as she prepares to face a judge later today.
And polls now open for a special primary election in Orange County. A breakdown of the candidates hoping to replace the late Geraldine Thompson. Good morning on your Tuesday at 7 a.m. I'm Crystal Moyer.
I'm Justin Mormith. Trooper Steve has the day off. We do have some breaking news happening in downtown Orlando. More on that coming up. But let's get started with a check of that forecast with Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos.
Yeah, another hot day today. Just a few isolated showers and thunderstorms. But we're going to start ramping up not only the coverage, but also the intensity of some of these storms as early as Wednesday. So let's talk about those temperatures out the door. No need for the rain gear if you're packing the bags today. It looks like our rain chances this afternoon only about 20 to 30%. But it's not zero. Looking at those temperatures right now, we're in those mid 70s. Cool spot right now through Wildwood, the Villages, low 70s. Finally getting into those mid 70s as well along the Space Coast, where yesterday you guys stayed in the 80s all night long. Looking at those highs this afternoon, we're back into those low 90s this afternoon, just a few degrees above average, upper 80s along the coastline. But when you factor in, again, that tropical moisture and that humidity out there, we'll once again be feeling like 100 to 105 degrees. And you know what's an interesting fact, though? Even feeling like 100 degrees today, it's still going to be feeling cooler here in Central Florida than almost everywhere up I-95 into the Northeast. We'll have more details on the big East Coast scorcher and the better chance for some strong to even severe storms in our forecast as early as tomorrow, coming up in just a bit. Now let's check on those roadways with Crystal Moyer. She's got your News 6 traffic update.
Hey, I want to give you some information about an alternate route. There is some police activity that we'll get to in just a moment in downtown Orlando. All southbound lanes of Orange Avenue are blocked between Anderson and Gore, so that alternate route is going to be Delaney Avenue. We saw some heavy delays off and on throughout the morning during this closure, so just expect some extra time and make sure you watch out for police that are on scene.
And more on that breaking news right now. As Crystal just mentioned, one lane of southbound Orange Ave closed from Anderson to Gore, and we're learning a death investigation is underway there. Let's get out to News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez live from the scene. What have you learned so far, Stephanie?
Justin, yeah, as you said, one of those lanes closed. You can see here behind me the police activity still going on. All of the cop cars lined up there. We do know that this is a death investigation. OPD tells us that an adult male was found dead and the cause of his death is under investigation. We know that the body was partially on the street and partially on the sidewalk, and you can see all of the cars lined up there. We do believe that the male is still there on scene, so police are just starting this investigation here. We have limited details this morning as they conduct this investigation, but you can see the traffic here, one of the lanes closed, so a lot of slowdown. So you are encouraged to find an alternate route if you can, and just be aware that this is happening right now. Once we have more information about this, we'll bring it to you here on clickorlando.com. Reporting live in Orlando, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
Stephanie, thanks. Breaking overnight, President Trump posting on social media the ceasefire between Israel and Iran is now in effect. The president also asked both countries to not violate the agreement. Iranian and Israeli media is confirming Trump's statement. This morning, the details of that agreement are still unclear. Right now, Israel reports Iranian missile attacks around when the staggered ceasefire was supposed to start. This morning's strike causing multiple deaths and injuries in one suburban neighborhood. CBS News' Bradley Blackburn has the latest on the lingering tension.
Sirens and smoke trails over Israeli skies this morning after a deadly Iranian missile barrage. Iranian state TV signaled those may be the last of the country's strikes after President Donald Trump announced a, quote, complete and total ceasefire between the two nations on social media last night. At first, Israel's prime minister announced his country had approved the ceasefire deal, but then an about-face. Israel's defense minister has ordered new intense operations to attack Tehran and destroy targets of the regime and terror infrastructure after accusing Iran of violating the ceasefire. But an Iranian news agency said reports of a violation were false. The White House says President Trump discussed a deal directly with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, while other top administration officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, communicated with Iran. Iran's foreign minister initially seemed non-committal to the proposal, posting on X, "There is no agreement," and that a final decision on the cessation of our military operations will be made later, though he followed that up with claims that his country continued its aggression until the last minute, indicating a possible stop in strikes around 4 a.m. local time. Monday, Iran launched counterstrikes targeting a U.S. airbase in Qatar, retaliation for U.S. strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. President Trump says Iran gave early notice in advance and that there were no deaths or injuries. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
And on the heels of this ceasefire, President Trump's focus now shifting to the NATO summit. Here's a live look from the White House, where he's expected to leave soon and head to the Netherlands for the 2-day summit.
This morning, the wife of suspended Osceola Sheriff Marcos Lopez is now in the same jail as her husband.
Yeah, he was arrested nearly 3 weeks ago. And later this morning, his wife, Robin Lopez, is expected to face a judge. News 6 reporter Angie Casada joins us live from outside of the Lake County Jail where the couple is being held. Angie, what charges is she facing?
Hey, good morning, guys. That's right. So Robin Lopez was arrested on Monday on a racketeering charge. It's tied to that massive illegal gambling operation that pretty much took down suspended Sheriff Marcos Lopez. Robin Lopez is now locked up in the same jail where her husband has been held since early June. Authorities say she was taken into custody Monday. News 6 obtaining the video where you could see the moment she was cuffed by federal agents. Homeland Security called her the estranged wife of Marcos Lopez. And now, like him, she's facing a felony charge. Prosecutors say the illegal gambling enterprise at the center of this case generated over $21 million. Until now, Robin Lopez had not been publicly tied to the case. After her arrest, News 6 went to the Harmony home she shared with the suspended sheriff. No one came to the door, but we did hear a dog inside. Now, Robin Lopez is scheduled to appear in court around 8:30 this morning. Her bond could be set during that hearing. Of course, we're going to bring you any updates as we learn more. We also learned that Marcos Lopez obtained another defense attorney, so we'll have details on that later on today. Reporting in Lake County, Angie Casada, News 6.
Angie, thanks. Developing this morning, we may soon learn the identity of a man who was shot and later died after the Orange County Sheriff's Office says he approached deputies with a knife.
Investigators say deputies tried to get that man out for hours prior to the shooting. Orange County Undersheriff Mark Canty gave a timeline of events here, saying deputies were called to the aisles at East Millennia Apartments just before 1 o'clock Monday afternoon. Investigators say a woman claimed her boyfriend had been doing drugs and was holding her at knife point before she was able to escape and call for help. Sheriff's office says when deputies tried to talk to the 57-year-old man, he barricaded himself inside the apartment.
At one point, the man came out of the room and moved towards deputies while armed with a knife. That's when 2 of our deputies fired their service weapons, striking the man.
And the undersheriff went on to say that the man later died at the hospital.
The polls are now open and have been for about 8 minutes now for the special primary election in State Senate District 15. This is the race to fill the seat left empty by the late Geraldine Thompson. Here's a look at the candidates. 4 Democrats and 1 Republican are fighting to represent part of Orange County in the Florida Senate. The Democrats include siblings LaVon Bracey, Davis, and her brother Randolph Bracey III, Alan Grayson, and Coretta Anthony Smith. The winner of the Democratic primary will face Republican Willie Montague in the special general election on September 2nd.
Today, Brevard County Public Schools is expected to review all of its policies, all to make sure that it doesn't break state law.
This comes after a firestorm over a local teacher using a student's preferred name ended with the teacher's contract not being renewed. Today's discussion could include a policy that makes parents sign parental consent forms if they allow their child to go by any name other than their legal name. This year, only 1 member of the board wanted Satellite High teacher Melissa Calhoun to stay with the district after she admitted to calling a student a different name without their parents' permission. That led to protests and raised more questions about how to implement state law.
Well, I think she made a mistake. She acknowledged that mistake, and I think it's something that she can recover from. She just deserves to have a second chance.
Any chance of Calhoun returning to the school district is now up to the state. Meanwhile, today's meeting gets underway at 9:30 this morning. A new launch date is set for the Axiom 4 mission. Axiom 4 is now expected to lift off at 2:31 a.m. tomorrow from the Kennedy Space Center. The 4-person crew will travel to the International Space Station. The mission has been delayed several times, first because of a leak on the ISS, then again because of a liquid oxygen leak on the Falcon 9 rocket. We'll keep you updated on the launch on News 6 and clickorlando.com.
A heads up about some likely traffic around downtown Orlando tonight. It's all for the FIFA Club World Cup. Today and Thursday's match being played at Camping World Stadium. If you're not going to the game, Icon Park is hosting a fan experience, which ends tomorrow. All right, let's take a look at that weather. We obviously need some nice weather, but if it's anything like last night, Candace, I think tonight's game is going to be really, really nice for the folks heading out.
I mean, soccer fans like their matches late, don't they? It starts later on, much later tonight, about 9 o'clock. We're going to see those temperatures in those low 80s, so at least we'll be starting the cooling process. And like you said, Justin, for the most part, any chance for rain will be hovering till as late as about 6, 7 o'clock. And I think most of the action will be out towards our western zones as we head into this afternoon and into the evening hours. Now, right now we have kind of a big ridge of high pressure. This ridge, man, it is really sizzling the East Coast for the next day or so. But we're going to be tapping into a little upper level low that's going to be spinning out there over the Atlantic. And as it moves in on Wednesday, we'll be upping our chance for rain. Not a big widespread chance, but the storms that we could see could actually turn strong to severe. In the meantime, though, today it is going to be another hot day. Temperatures in the low 90s, feeling like the triple digits. But again, we're upping the chance for rain starting Wednesday, becoming a little more widespread as we kind of wrap up the work week. We'll have more details on the timing and the possible impacts of Wednesday's storms coming up in just a few minutes. Now let's check on those roadways with Crystal Moyer. She's got your News 6 traffic.
We're still following that police activity just east of downtown Orlando. Now, it looks like Orange Avenue is moving back at speed according to the map. A lot of folks were using Delaney Avenue because Orange Avenue had some lanes shut down between Anderson all the way down towards Gore Street. So if you're passing through that area, just know that you will see some police activity there and you'll need to slow down and move over. Over in Lake County, we're still seeing a crash with injuries reported along the Turnpike southbound near US 27 heading towards Claremont. At least one block reported closed there, but I'm not seeing any delay along the Turnpike heading north or southbound.
7:12 now coming up. Hidden fees becoming more of a nuisance.
Up next, the law's hoping to stop this and how you can avoid paying.
First, though, today marks 4 years since the Surfside collapse. A look at the new laws designed to ease financial strain while still making sure the buildings across the state are safe. You're watching News 6 Mornings. We'll be right back. Today marks 4 years since that devastating condo collapse in South Florida. June 24, 2021, a 12-story condo collapsed in Surfside, killing 98 people. And to honor those victims, officials will hold a memorial. Now, 4 years later, the investigation into what caused the collapse continues. Several laws meant to protect residents in Florida condos ended up driving up costs for owners. The governor signed 2 new laws yesterday to ease that financial burden. HB 913 rolls back some of the mandated assessments on condo owners. It also prevents condo association managers whose licenses have been revoked from working for any condo management firm for 10 years. DeSantis says this will improve transparency and accountability. The governor also signed a second new law aimed at improving the MySafe Florida Condo Pilot Program, which provides grants for condo associations to help pay for improvements to make older buildings storm ready. Both new laws take effect July 1st, which is 1 week from today.
Well, it's something that frustrates us all when booking, hotels, maybe ordering food or using payment apps, those hidden fees. Now, a new federal rule targets some of the worst offenders, but many hidden charges remain legal. New this morning, Consumer Reports is breaking down what this means for you and your wallet and how to avoid them.
Let me tell you about what happened on my honeymoon.
Travel agent Shay Martin recently told her social media followers about the $600 resort fee that caught her by surprise on her honeymoon a few years ago.
I just wanted to share that and let people know that it's something to look out for. And I did call out that it has started to change.
That change is thanks to a new FTC rule now in effect. It requires full price transparency for hotels, short-term lodging, and live event tickets, so you'll know the total price before booking, making it easier for consumers to avoid surprises.
Americans are sick and tired of getting hit with hidden fees that jack up prices and take a big bite out of their wallets. This is a big step in the right direction, but much more needs to be done.
That's because the FTC rule only addresses a small piece of a much bigger problem. Hidden fees are still everywhere. Consumer Reports estimates the average family of 4 spends about $3,200 a year on junk fees.
These added costs hit hardest for families living paycheck to paycheck, especially in low-income communities.
Consumer Reports has some tips to stay a step ahead of some of these sneaky fees. Take flights, for example. You can sometimes avoid extra charges by booking directly through the airline or trusted travel agent and using the airline's app to check in. And when banking, switching to a low-fee or online bank and using in-network ATMs can save you from unnecessary charges. Smart moves to keep more money in your wallet. Maybe pick up that order yourself.
There you go.
Keep in mind with consumers using auto pay for some bills, those extra charges can go unnoticed, so be sure to check your statements regularly. You can find more tips to avoid junk fees on clickorlando.com/insider.
Right now, more than 200 million Americans are in the grip of an early summer heat wave. Across the East Coast, what's labeled as a heat dome is trapping triple-digit temperatures in some spots that haven't seen them in more than a decade. In the Northeast's biggest cities, peak heat expected to hit today. Folks are on high alert. Residents in several cities turning to cooling centers for some relief. This morning, a recent study reveals taking a cold shower to cool off may not be the best idea. Here's why. Your blood vessels constrict, which traps heat, making you feel hotter. Scientists say the perfect shower temperature is lukewarm.
Have you guys ever gone into like the jacuzzi, then jumped in the pool, then went back into the jacuzzi?
You got nauseous.
Really?
Yeah, you can get really.
Oh.
You're not supposed to throw your body temperature like that, Crystal.
I used to do that.
You got to keep the body guessing. Shock the system.
Shock it.
I don't know.
That's what Crystal does every morning. She goes hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, and then she comes into work.
Do what I have to do.
I end every shower cold.
No, absolutely not.
Every single one I do.
Well, that's why your skin is so perfect.
No,
apparently it's good for your skin.
I sweat a lot. I'm a bad sweater. Bad sweater.
The more you know.
It doesn't take much.
Yeah. My husband coins my showering lobster boiling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm with you.
It's the case for all women.
Yeah, I think so.
Same at my house.
It's kind of burning off the
They
layer.
can't handle it, Candace.
The top
they can't
layer
handle
of
the
your
heat.
skin.
We cannot.
Just boil it right off. All right, speaking of boiling, we have a big ridge of high pressure that's basically just anchoring itself over the eastern seaboard, and we call it a hot dome. You heard Justin mention it. It's almost like putting a lid on top of a pot of boiling water. That lid is basically trapping all of that heat and humidity down at the surface, and that is trapping all that heat, not only here in Central Florida, which is kind of typical. We'll be feeling like about 100 degrees today, but notice what's happening all the way up, even as far north as like Boston. We'll be feeling like 100 to possibly up to about 110, 111 degrees in some locations. They're even closing schools for the day because of how hot it is. Obviously, they don't have the infrastructure like we do here to kind of keep those ACs going, but certainly quite a shock to the system there with that early big heat wave across the Northeast. Now, back here at home, we're going to be in for another hot day. Pretty typical, right? As feels like temperatures will be back to about 100 degrees. Now, we are going to be watching for the additional rain and storms to start moving back into the forecast, really as we head into Wednesday, and then more widespread by the weekend. Now, I do want to turn your attention and make sure you're kind of focused on just being a little extra weather aware on Wednesday. Although our coverage for rain is not widespread, it's only about 30 to 40%, the storms that we will fire up will have a decent shot of turning strong to severe because of the way the weather is kind of set up for tomorrow. I'll explain in just a second, but let's talk about out the door right now. It's 7:20. You're running out the door. Temperatures are mild, kind of on the warm, muggy side in those mid to upper 70s. And as we take you here hour by hour for your Tuesday, again, our average for this time of the year is the low 90s. That's basically where we'll be hovering this afternoon with our coverage. Not too bad, only about 20%. Now today, again, will be almost a carbon copy of what we dealt with yesterday. Couple scattered showers along that East Coast sea breeze, just approaching I-4 by about noon. And then a couple of those scattered showers could actually develop into some heavier downpours, possibly in southern Lake and Sumter County by the evening hours. But again, most of us will stay dry. But then we'll kind of turn the corner a bit on Wednesday. Notice that the majority of Central Florida now under a level 1 out of 5 for severe weather. We're watching an upper level low that's going to kind of be spinning its way into Central Florida on Wednesday. It's not tropical. It's not developing into anything. But because it's going to be bringing us some cooler air in the upper levels, it will have the opportunity of developing some really gusty winds, as well as the possibility of hail in some of these small kind of pockets of heavier downpours. Again, the coverage is not widespread, but I don't want people to kind of let their guard down that if we do get a cell, it could spark that severe thunderstorm warning. So we do have the potential for lightning, wind, and again, hail, the main threats embedded within some of that activity. Quick check on the activity in the tropics. Not much going on. That one area that had the potential of becoming our next named storm is fizzling out pretty quickly. So we're still at 0 named storms so far this season. I am not complaining, but we are going to be bumping up those rain chances, though, locally here by the weekend. Now let's check on those roadways with Crystal Moyer.
We do have a traffic alert out of the Fairview Shores area. If you're traveling along Hunter Avenue in Edgewater, just know that there's a roadblock there after a crash with injuries. This is a very residential area, so just slow it down. Wait for those law enforcement officers to get everything cleared up. As soon as I get some more information, I'll let you know. Heading back to that traffic alert we saw earlier over towards East downtown Orlando, where that police activity was going on. It looks like traffic is now back at speed. There may be some officers still out there working that scene, but as far as traffic goes, you are good to go north and southbound on Orange Avenue near Gore Street. Well, right now, residents unhappy with what was expected to be a citywide creek cleanout.
Coming up, why city leaders say they can't finish the job.
And at the bottom of the hour, taking delivery to a new level, where one Chick-fil-A is making deliveries by boat. Some neighbors in Winter Springs are disappointed after learning a citywide creek cleanout will only go so far. The first part is debris removal, which means cutting down vegetation, picking up that trash, anything that's blocking the flow of water up and down the 6 main creeks that run through Winter Springs and empty out into Lake Jessup. But now the city says environmental protections limit just how much sediment can be removed, which neighbors say could cause problems down the road during storms.
They need to be deeper. They need to clean out the sediment, and it just needs to be deeper.
The city expects even just a few feet of sediment removal and 30,000 feet of debris removal will make a huge difference for when the next hurricane hits.
Check this out. 2 women got matching lightning bolt tattoos after they were struck by a lightning Saturday in Marco Island. The friends say a beautiful day quickly turned when a storm suddenly rolled in. They took cover under a tiki hut, but the next thing they remember, they woke up injured and disoriented. Police said while the lightning didn't hit them directly, it did travel through the ground, causing some minor injuries. Now, though, they have those matching tattoos in a story that they will never forget the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
That's quick work, though. I mean, think about that happened Saturday, and all of a sudden it's Tuesday. We're reporting on them.
It's summer, and it's Florida.
That was instinct. They're like, let's get tats. Well, straight ahead, a death investigation now underway in downtown Orlando. We're going to have an update on what we're learning live from that scene.
Plus new details as investigators try and find out how a handcuffed suspect in the back of a cruiser was able to shoot a deputy in Marion County.
Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live, you're watching News 6.
Good morning, Central Florida. I'm Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos. Daytona Beach sky cam right now. We're looking mostly dry up and down our beaches, but heads up along our coastline. We will be seeing a couple scattered showers clipping possibly Brevard County in the next hour or so. Temperatures right now, though, in those mid-70s. Throughout the next few hours, temperatures will be rebounding back to near normal. Low 90s, feeling like the triple digits, with rain chances not extremely widespread, very limited. And although rain chances remain relatively low again on Wednesday, there will be the possibility of a few strong to severe storms. Now let's check on those roadways with Crystal Moyer.
We're still following that traffic alert out of Lake County heading towards Claremont. A crash with injuries. This one is near the Turnpike, but I'm going to also talk about this one near Fairview Shores in Orange County along Hunter Avenue and Edgewood Drive. Just watch out for those 2 wrecks. If you're traveling out in Brevard County, good morning. I-95 at West Melbourne area looking pretty good. The news continues next. Remember, you can get updates on our big stories anytime on clickorlando.com.
Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live, you're watching News 6.
The time is now 7:30 on your Tuesday.
Let's get a check of our top stories. Early this morning, President Trump announced a tentative ceasefire between Israel and Iran, saying the war would end by midnight. But despite a deadly missile attack from Iran overnight, officials now saying the strikes are pausing. Israel's prime minister agreed to the deal after 12 days of conflict.
And the wife of suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez is expected to face a judge today. Robin Lopez was arrested in connection to the illegal gambling enterprise investigation that put her husband behind bars. She's charged with conspiracy to use investment proceeds from racketeering.
And the polls are now open for a special primary election in Orange County for Florida House and Senate seats. The sudden death of State Senator Geraldine Thompson earlier this year triggered this special election. Polling stays open until 7 p.m.
All right, let's turn to the weather. We're expecting some pretty dry weather today, but, things are going to get a bit wet for some of us. Of course, you can't rule out the storms during the summertime.
A little passing, but a beautiful start to the day. No doubt about that. Let's get a check of that forecast, though. Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos breaking it all down.
Yeah, happy Tuesday morning, everybody. I mean, at the end of the day, we are looking mostly dry, and most of us will stay dry throughout the majority of the day. But like they mentioned, it's Central Florida, it's June. We can't completely rule out the chance of any rain, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Right along the coastline, one little lone shower just clipping Satellite Beach. It pretty much made its way on shore and it's kind of fizzled out. We're watching a couple of pockets of some heavier downpours just east of Mico, out through Palm Bay as well. If they do hold, they will be clipping the coast this morning, but really not impacting many folks, and it won't really last long either. Again, the rest of Central Florida on this Tuesday waking up relatively dry. We're in those mid-70s now into the afternoon. Maybe a theme park, maybe a water park might be a good idea, as our high will be up to about 93 degrees. Our rain chances, though, not extremely widespread, only about a 20 to 30%. You can see just that chance primarily across the southern half of Central Florida is up to about a 20%. But then as we head into tomorrow, rain chances do go up a little bit. They're talking about a 40% chance, but the only concern will be is the risk for strong to severe storms. We're watching an upper level low that's going to be coming in on Wednesday. It's not going to be something we're watching for tropical development, but it is going to be stacking up our atmosphere a little differently tomorrow, which is why we will have that mention of severe weather. We'll be pinpointing the timing of tomorrow's rain and a look at the tropics coming up in just a little bit. Now let's check on those roadways with Crystal Moyer. She is in for Trooper Steve and is watching those roads for you.
We have a traffic alert out of Fairview Shores in Orange County. A wreck with injuries blocking at least one lane of Edgewater Drive and Hunter Avenue. This is a residential area, so just watch out for any flashing lights you might see in that area. Also, we're still following a crash with injuries along the turnpike heading southbound near US 27, blocking at least one lane according to FHP. This is in the Lake County area heading towards Claremont. I'm not seeing any major delays north or southbound along the turnpike. Again, give those law enforcement officials plenty of space. In breaking news right now, one lane of southbound Orange Avenue closed from Anderson to Gore, and police say they're investigating a death in the area. News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez is with us live from the scene. Stephanie, what have you learned so far?
Crystal, yeah, like you said, that one lane closed. You can see here there is some traffic flow, but it does back up. Of course, there are street lights on either end of South Orange Avenue. Here, as you mentioned, this is a death investigation. Details are limited right now for us. Police have confirmed that an adult man was found dead this morning on the South Orange Avenue and that his body was partially on the street and partially on the sidewalk. The medical examiner is here now. They appear to be preparing to remove the body. Again, details limited. Traffic down to just one lane, so you are encouraged to find an alternate route if you can between Gore and Anderson Street here. It's unclear how long police will be here conducting their investigation, but of course, as we mentioned, it is a death investigation, so they'll probably be out here for at least an hour or two more. So make sure that you're aware of that if you're heading out to work this morning. Once we have more information about this, we'll bring it to you here on clickorlando.com. Reporting live in Orlando, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
All right, we'll check back in. Thank you, Stephanie, for the update. It's been nearly 3 weeks since suspended Sheriff Marcos Lopez was locked up on racketeering charges, and now his wife is joining him behind bars. Robin Lopez was arrested yesterday, accused of playing a role in that same criminal operation.
Yeah, she's set to face a judge this morning. News 6's Angie Casada is live at the Lake County Jail. And Angie, what do we know about her alleged involvement in all this?
Hey, good morning, guys. We're kind of limited to knowing the details of how she was involved, but she was arrested on Monday, charged with racketeering, connected to that same massive illegal gambling operation that brought down Marcos Lopez. She's actually the 6th person to be arrested. You're looking at the newest mugshot tied to the Lopez case. His wife, Robin Lopez, booked into Lake County Jail Monday on a racketeering charge. We now have a better look at the video that captured her arrest, blurry but telling, as federal agents took her into custody. The charges mirror those that have kept her husband, Marcos Lopez, behind bars since June 5th. Prosecutors say the operation netted millions in illicit gambling profits, and up until now, Robin wasn't publicly connected to it. But her arrest comes just weeks after her husband was taken on similar charges. News 6 went to the couple's Harmony home shortly after learning of her arrest. No answer, but we could hear a dog barking inside. Now, we've had crews at the jail all week as this case continues to unfold. Again, Robin Lopez is expected to be in court around 8:30 this morning, where a bond may be set. Of course, we're going to give you any updates on air and here on ClickOrlando.com. Reporting in Lake County, Angie Casada, News 6.
Angie, thanks. Meanwhile, the woman accused of shooting a Marion County deputy is out of the hospital and also set to face a judge today. We brought you this story yesterday as breaking news when investigators say shots rang out after a traffic stop in the Summerfield area right off of Sound Pine Avenue. Now, deputies say 22-year-old Rihanna Hardin was in the back of a deputy cruiser handcuffed when somehow she pulled a gun from her pants and shot him. She'd been arrested for drugs, a suspended license, and giving a fake name. The bullet grazed the deputy's face. Investigators say he fired back, hitting her in the shoulders and hips.
Both were taken to the hospital for their injuries and have been released.
The deputy is now recovering at home on paid leave. Hardin is facing attempted murder and several other charges. She's expected in court at 9.
New this morning, police say a young girl is fighting for her life after being hit by a car in DeLand.
Life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Still a very serious punishment, and it confines the offender and it protects society. But it doesn't require the state to cross that line and extinguish a human life.
News 6's Mike Valenci will be outside the Florida State Prison tonight for the execution if it does go forward.
A positive update to a story we brought you yesterday. The missing newborn girl out of Altamont Springs has been found safe. Police tell us they found Tanaya Tyson in Stark, which is about 2 hours away from the Advent Health where she was last seen. Investigators say they found her with her parents and in good health. At last check, she was in DCF custody. Police tell us they do not anticipate making any arrests.
A deadly reminder this morning why beach officials say you should never wait to take storms seriously. The man struck by lightning on New Smyrna Beach last week has now died. It is the first lightning-related death on Volusia's beaches in years. And this time-lapse video here shows that storm moving through on Friday. But beach safety says at the time of the strike, it was still miles away, in fact, too far to start clearing out the beach. 29-year-old Jake Rosenkrantz was on his honeymoon visiting from Colorado when he was hit while standing in ankle-deep water. A bolt struck without warning, something officials call a rare but real risk.
Lightning can strike miles from the storm, right? As it did in this case. Over my years of service here, I've seen about 6 or 7 people die on the beach from lightning strikes.
Lifeguards and EMS rushed to help, but Rosenkrantz died the next morning. Officials say if you do hear thunder, it is time to clear the beach.
Happening today, leaders in Astatula could hit pause on new development with a year-long moratorium. It's the latest moratorium discussion in Lake County. City commissioners say infrastructure is struggling to keep up, even with a new $700,000 grant for water upgrades. The mayor says the timeout would help the city catch up on hiring and basic services.
How are you feeling ahead of Tuesday's meeting?
I feel good. It's something that our residents want. It's something that I've been advocating for a while.
Astatula isn't the first Lake County community to toss around the idea of a development pause. Leesburg considered the same thing back in April, but was ultimately struck down. Tonight's meeting starts at 6.
Traffic alert this morning when it comes to overnight closures on the turnpike. Crews will be installing bridge beams for the Neptune Road project, forcing a full shutdown in both directions between Yeehaw Junction and Kissimmee. Southbound lanes close overnight tonight from midnight to 5 a.m. Northbound lanes close Thursday during that same time frame. Drivers will be detoured onto 441, 192, and State Road 60, so expect some delays if you are traveling through Osceola County. 7:40 now. Let's get you back to your forecast. Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos, take a look at those temperatures walking out the door this morning.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, and this is the best time to do all that construction because weather is really not going to be a big issue today and into the overnight hours. But then we're going to start turning the corner to a little more unsettled weather as we wrap up the week. Now, temperatures out the door right now, mid to upper 70s. We're looking mostly dry. And I have to use the word mostly because there are some locations right now that are dealing with some spotty showers right now. Areas of Satellite Beach crossing right now over 95. You can see there's still just a little bubble of some heavier downpours. Not a lot of lightning right now. We're just about to clip parts of Mico, Palm Bay, Melbourne. You will all have an opportunity of getting clipped by some of those scattered showers. The rest of Central Florida, it's a dry start. So the summer camp forecast, still tons of sunshine, little rain. Not completely eliminated out of the forecast, but there is still the mention of a little bit of that rain in the forecast with highs today into the low 90s. Now, rain chances this afternoon again on the low side. We're going to start increasing our chance for some rain and then even further come Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. I do want to make sure that folks are kind of focused on Wednesday because although our coverage is not extremely widespread, it will come with a chance for some strong to severe storms. I'll explain why coming up in just a little bit and giving you a quick check on the tropics that we continue to have no-name storms out there. We'll have more details on one potential coming up in just a bit. Now let's check on those roadways with Krista Moyer. She's watching those roadways for you.
I'll have that in just a moment for you guys after the break.
Coming up, a deadly turn on Lake Tahoe.
A sudden storm hits without warning, tossing 10 people from a boat. Coming up, we hear from witnesses who saw it all happen as officials give an update on the recovery investigation. Plus,
I'm Bridget Ellison. We're at the Orlando Health Advanced Rehabilitation Institute, and behind me is the Zero G treadmill. We met an Orlando man who went through a traumatic spinal cord injury, and part of this training is what is giving him new hope in his life.
A violent weekend storm in Lake Tahoe turns a trip into tragedy. Take a look at this. 10 people thrown from a boat after it capsized on the water, looking more like the ocean. 2 were rescued, 8 people died. Officials say a sudden and powerful thunderstorm swept in, whipping up those swells several feet high, and it even took seasoned boaters by surprise. This morning, we're hearing from a young man who saw it all happen.
When it was happening, the wind was just crazy. The waves were huge for a lake. And we saw 5 boats sink, 9 boats washed up on shore. I thought that the sailboat washed up on shore that was leaning to the side was going to fall on the restaurant.
Just incredible to see Lake Tahoe look like that. Right now, cleanup is still underway on the lake. Authorities are urging boaters to prepare for rapid weather changes.
A new kind of physical therapy is helping patients bounce back faster after life-changing injuries. News 6's Bridget Ellison shows us how high-intensity gait training works and introduces us to a local grandfather who came into rehab in a wheelchair and walked out just weeks later.
So we're about to get on to a body weight support treadmill in order to kind of push the limits of Jeff's balance.
I wish you got my heart rate up again now.
The goal is to be able to get him into 70 to 85% of his heart rate max.
Back in March, fun-loving grandfather Jeff Irwin was severely injured on the playground. Attempting a flip off of a swing set landed him in the hospital, unable to move his body.
When I was on the ground, just to sit there and let the paramedics take care of me, and God would watch over me and get me where I needed to be.
And he did.
And he did. Yeah, and they did. So.
Orlando Health surgeons stabilized his spine with titanium screws and a plate, but he would need a special type of physical therapy called high-intensity gait training to get back on his feet.
To have it happen on a grandparents' day at the school and think, okay, will I ever get to hold him again? But I can.
Physical therapist Emily Slater helped Irwin learn to walk again.
What we're really looking at is he able to advance his own legs? Is he able to hold his own balance? And then what can I make a little bit harder to make his body work harder?
After about 4 weeks, Irwin walked out without any assistance.
It worked out because I'm up and moving now.
Slater credits not only the techniques, but his willpower week after week.
Jeff came in with a positive attitude every single day.
For Irwin, the motivation was showing his grandkids Pappy is back.
I can't lift him yet, but that's my next goal.
Good.
In Orlando, Bridget Ellison, News 6.
No more flipping off the
No,
swing set.
I don't think so. That's crazy.
Well, Irwin is still in therapy, working on mobility and strengthening his hands.
I mean, you heard him there. He wants to hold those grandkids now.
Oh, yeah.
And the goal is not just safety, according to his team. It's also that long-term progress and a real return to life.
He can do it.
Wishing
He'll
him the
get there.
best. Yeah.
Well, check this out. Chick-fil-A's latest delivery game changer. Forget the usual food truck or going through the drive-thru. In Destin, your chicken sandwich arrives by boat. Two vacationers captured this video of the Chick-fil-A inflatable boat pulling right up to Osteen Beach, delivering meals straight to beachgoers and boaters. I'm trying to look. Is this like a tiny, one of those small remote control boats?
Well, I don't know. No, he's got a little.
Yeah.
He's got a little. He's running it back here.
Okay.
The thing is, like, these Chick-fil-A employees just go above and beyond. And that's just further evidence for it. They really do go above and beyond.
They said, my pleasure. Give us a minute.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, it beats the drive-through line, too. If you're like a worker, it's like, yeah, I'll take the boat out.
Well, we just talked about junk fees. How much extra are you going to pay for the boat delivery?
I'm
Probably
thinking,
worth it, though.
I'm thinking of buying myself a little boat and selling some chicken nuggets
Yeah.
on the water.
Well, I mean,
on a sandbar.
Back in high school, I know kids used to just buy it in the boatloads and then sell it.
And sell it there.
And sell like a
Right.
chicken biscuit in the morning.
Yeah.
Little upcharge.
Little fishing, a little
Hey,
chicken.
I'll pay anything for one right now.
Oh, me
I'm not
too.
going to lie.
Honest.
I wouldn't mind the junk fees.
Yeah, let's go.
Send the drone, send the boat, whatever you guys have to do.
Recommend close
News
your eyes
6.
and click submit. Check out. My favorite is when you put stuff in the cart and they send you an email. And you're like, oh, did you leave this cart? You're like,
Right.
yeah, I did.
I
Leave me
came to my
alone.
senses, actually.
All right, quick check on the tropics. National Hurricane Center just updated these numbers as of 8 a.m., a little earlier, but showing now they've upped the chances for potential development of this area of low pressure in the northern Atlantic up to about a 50%. Still kind of in that moderate range. Again, that window for potential development closing in pretty quickly. Still 0 named storms right now for the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. Slow start. Doesn't mean it will be a slow season. Don't forget about that. All right, let's talk about some other spins going on right now out in the tropics. There's this upper level low, a little different. It's not expected to develop into anything. That's not the concern. What it will be bringing us is kind of a different setup in our atmosphere. This upper level low is going to bring some cooler air aloft. That doesn't mean it's going to be bringing cool air down at the surface. But the moment you have cool air on top of warm air, that creates a lot of instability. And that's why tomorrow, although our coverage is not going to be extremely high for rain, Any rain or storms that we do see could turn strong and severe pretty quickly. And then that low will pull away, and then it'll start pulling in all that tropical moisture back in from the south, and we'll start ramping up those rain chances, a little more typical for this time of the year. You can see on Wednesday, it's on a widespread coverage, but that coverage could again turn strong to severe. Temperatures out the door right now, no big rain chances in the forecast. We are tracking a couple lone showers clipping parts of southern Brevard right now. We're at 73 in the Villages, 75 in DeLand. But as we take you here hour by hour, all this boat talk, I put some sailboats there in the background, right? It's going to be a nice day. Temperatures will be in the low 90s. Rain chances again on the low side, with our feels like temperatures once again back into those triple digits. The boating forecast for today, if you're going to be selling some Chick-fil-A out there, seas are going to be about 2 to 3 feet. The bays, though, still at a moderate chop because into the afternoon, just like yesterday, we'll see the winds kind of pick up again. Looking here at the clouds and rain forecast, remember that 20 to 30% we just mentioned? That's about it. A couple scattered showers again moving in. It looks like our 20% chance of rain will be basically from kind of that Orlando-Titusville line further south. Then as we head into Wednesday, again, that coverage is not going to be widespread. A little more scattered showers will start up along 95 by about lunchtime and then pushing from east to west. But as that sea breeze develops some of those scattered showers, some of those kind of hotter times of the day, we will have that ability to fuel the possibility of those strong storms that has the potential for those gusty winds, even quarter-size hail in the forecast. As we get results here, the full 7-day forecast, again, turning more typical, though, starting Thursday. Now let's check on those roadways with Krista Moyer.
Well, at Champions Gate, we're seeing those normal morning delays as folks are getting up and getting to work for the morning. You're moving at 20 miles per hour. I-4, this is eastbound from the Champions Gate all the way up towards Lake Buena Vista and the theme parks. So just make sure you add a little bit of extra time unless you've already, put that into your travel time there. We are still taking a look at a crash, and this one is out near the Fairview Shores area with injuries. Hunter Avenue and Edgewater Drive, still a lane blocked out there. We'll keep you updated.
Closing arguments could start this week in the sex trafficking trial against Sean Diddy Combs, what jurors saw in court and why Combs won't be taking the stand in his own defense. Closing arguments could come as early as Thursday as federal prosecutors move closer to wrapping up their case against Sean Diddy Combs. In court yesterday, a Homeland Security agent showed jurors travel records and hotel invoices linked to the so-called freak-offs at the heart of the case. Jurors also saw more explicit video involving Jane, a woman who claims Combs planned the encounters and that they were not consensual. The defense, meanwhile, says it won't call any witnesses, meaning Combs will not take the stand.
What is he going to reiterate, supporting his self-interest and say, no, everything was consensual? He may then impair his own credibility.
Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges which include racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. If convicted, he could face life in prison.
New this morning, 5 people were taken to the hospital after an American Airlines flight experienced unexpected turbulence. The Federal Aviation Administration says the Airbus A321 from Miami landed safely in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina on Sunday night. However, American Airlines said 3 flight attendants and 2 customers were taken to the hospital for evaluation. As of now, they've all been released and the FAA is investigating.
It was a special gathering at the Orlando VA where the focus wasn't just on veterans, but the caregivers who support them every day. The VA hosted its annual Caregiver Summit in Lake Nona yesterday. It's an event that brings together staff, families, and partners to strengthen support for those caring for our nation's heroes. Officials say the goal is to give caregivers the tools they need to stay healthy and supported.
Caregiving is very rewarding, but it has its challenges too. So we like to teach the caregiver to turn the attention to themselves and focus on things that they need to do to stay healthy, strong, emotional, spiritually, so that they could continue to be a caregiver.
We have more virtual resources and how you can get in touch with the program that hosted this. It's under the story on clickorlando.com. Candace.
Couple scattered showers clipping parts of the coastline this morning. Again, we're looking at just spotty showers for today. Right now, areas in and around kind of the Mico area, just north into Melbourne Shores, seeing some scattered showers. This little line here, it's starting to get its act together just a bit. So we'll be clipping the coastline between the next 30 to 45 minutes. Of course, that's something we'll be watching. Nothing extremely intense this afternoon. Our coverage is only about 20%. Highs today into the low 90s. Now, our coverage will increase a little bit on Wednesday, but even though it's only, quote unquote, an only 40% chance of rain, the way the atmosphere is kind of stacked up, there will be that potential, though, of some strong to severe storms. So stay tuned to News 6. We'll give you more on those latest updates. Crystal.
All right. Thanks, Candace. Looking at your traffic, we are still seeing heavy delays in the Champions Gate area. You all know the deal. Moving at around 20 miles per hour along I-4 eastbound. This is from Champions Gate all the way towards Lake Buena Vista and the parks. Just allow a few extra minutes there. That's all.
Yeah. Take it easy. Thanks for joining us. We break news on clickorlando.com.
You can also find all of our stories on our News 6 Plus app for your TV